and welcome to the CDO Magazine interview series. My name is Della, Shea, and I am the country CDO Ambassador for Canada and also a member of the Global Editorial Board for the CDO Magazine. And today I had the pleasure of talking with Gary Schneider, who is the Enterprise Data Governance Lead at MassMutual. So thank you, Gary, for joining me today. So when you're monitoring and measuring the various KPIs and KRIs and things that you're capturing, is your program connected with enterprise risk management? And is there a culture of accountability where that's really entailing that proactive reporting on all of these metrics that you've established?
Yeah, I think it's important for any data governance practice, any quality practice, to be tightly aligned with sort of their partner second and third line groups within the organization and coordinate activities. In many respects, the risk management practice is really one practice that's owned by multiple people, and the data governance, the data quality activities really own one very material component within the wing-to-wing risk management practice. I may have touched on this, a bit earlier with some of my responses to previous questions, but fundamentally, stakeholders need to be aware of their obligations and responsibilities with respect to the acquisition, ethical use and storage of data, of information, as well as the problems that we're seeking to solve at both the macro and micro level as a business. The messaging has to be regularly reinforced by senior management. No one's going to succeed if there's not a high-level senior management sponsorship that is visible. And again, ideally empowered by that policy mandate and related standards that more specifically define that target state. A clear accountability model has to be established that with really well-defined responsibilities for named roles, things like the data owner, data steward, data custodian, within each business function. Accountability for the performance of the required duties in these roles can be assured with business and operational KPIs to drive behaviors, along with related goals and objectives. It has to be formally incorporated into, I'll say, the organizational structure and therefore culture of an organization, these specific roles with clarity around the goals and objectives and obligations of each. Similar to the earlier discussion on the data quality role, as we have any new role, people need to be properly trained and equipped to perform that role. And I think that's where data governance flies in again.
I think that's really key. It's a really important point. You can have as many slides as you want with vision, etc. Excuse me, but without having the discipline, the commitment, and investment in the people across all levels to make sure that it's successful, then it's going to not probably meet your objectives.
Yeah, 100%. And it's important that those named individuals are properly equipped, to perform those roles in a meaningful way and in line with the targets and stated commitments of the overall program. Whether it's things like reference materials and tooling, the data governance program has an obligation to provide those and create and build those tools, in essence, a service to the stakeholder community across the business with a sustained support model. Again, I think there needs to be sort of that constant backdrop still of communication and aligning the communication strategy constantly to that work, communicate early and often. But that's going to be critical to reinforce some of the key messages and the value and the importance of these new roles that people are fulfilling, both to the short-term and long-term strategy and objectives of the organization. Going forward as the governance program matures to more of a BAU state, then the monitoring and oversight activities. I hate to say enforcement, but the monitoring and oversight activities of the governance program do indeed take a more prominent role. But again, if true value is established and understood and baked into the culture and process of an organization, most of the requirement to adhere to the stated data governance practices quickly fall in line.
No, that's really quite something when you talk about all of the components to make this work. It doesn't happen overnight. And you've mentioned you have a 30-year journey that has taken you through multiple experiences, multiple roles. So for somebody that is starting out in this data path, or they're building their career or elevating to a new role within data, what advice would you give them in terms of being able to establish, a really solid data governance, data quality, and data risk management program?
Yeah, to keep it concise, I guess, not so long ago, a very wise man dropped a bit of wisdom on me, and it really resonated. And I think it applies. I think it applies here. It's a simple phrase: think big, start small, and scale quickly. So if we break that down a
That's
bit,
perfect.
yeah, it's really a great sort of outline that helps you frame your thinking, and immediately takes something that is conceptually extremely deep, wide, and complex, and allows you to sort of boil it down into less complex terms, and helps formulate, how you want to progress your thinking to implement. So, when we talk about think big, it's, know your business, know your company, and fashion a clear strategy, or a strategically aligned enterprise view that clearly states what you want to accomplish and the value that you believe, a well-articulated value that it's going to bring, and what you think it's going to take to get there. But start small. Start small. That's enterprise. People their eyes are going to glaze over. You'll have a difficult time obtaining the level of sponsorship and engagement that you need. So start small. Identify smaller targeted functions, processes, or burning platforms where the governance practice will directly contribute to the goals of each and promote those successes to build credibility, and then scale quickly. So while you're doing all this in parallel, and within the boundaries you're working, everybody has certain constraints and boundaries within various organizations they're in. Begin to build and develop and acquire those plans. Start to formulate the structure and the approach that you're going to take more practically. But build and develop and acquire those plans, the people, the processes, and tools that are going to be necessary to support and facilitate your stakeholders as the pace of adoption begins to accelerate. So as you have successes in improving people's business and the manner in which they perform their business, you build buy-in, you start to build momentum, celebrate those wins, celebrate those momentum, but be prepared to take advantage of that momentum that you're beginning to garner, and start to execute quickly, so you can quickly mobilize and begin to support and help other businesses as they mature. And again, as I say, as their pace of adoption accelerates. Some motherhood and apple pie stuff, though, maintain a senior level of sustained sponsorship and visibility. You need to ensure the buy-in of senior leadership within the organization is maintained and is genuine and engaged. Communicate early and often. Communicate. Can't say that enough. It's going to continue to engender continued buy-in and sponsorship at all levels that you need across the organization. Surround yourself with good people who possess what I say is a deep cross-pollination of skill sets, things like, strong technical skills, strong communication skills, and policy skills. There are people that they might be completely different and disparate in their skill sets, but they're all needed to come together for a successful data governance program. And then just listen, observe, adapt, and persist, because there are going to be times when you think things are going great. There are going to be times when you think things are just falling down. But sort of maintain your confidence and the value that you're building and creating for your organization, and persist in driving it.
Wow, that's a lot. So I think a couple of the key things that I pulled from there: communicate, building diverse teams with different skill sets, because it's not just about technology, it's really about having the big picture. And think big, but focus on the little small quick wins. So thank you, Gary. This has been an excellent discussion today. You certainly have so much knowledge and experience to share with this community. So I'm very thankful to have had this opportunity to chat with you today.
Thank you so much. It's truly been my honor and pleasure. Thank you very much.
And for other interviews, if anyone would like to see other content, please visit cdomagazine.tech.